Good morning. It is 9:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. We got a big show for you today. We're going to recap Mario and Big Mike's speech at the DNC. We're going to recap the Theo Von and Donald Trump interview. We also have some tickets to give away later on in the show, the 11 o'clock hour, Armored MMA.
Yeah, it's going to be hype.
We've talked to those guys a few times.
Yeah, they're dope.
So it's like MMA fighting except in knight's armor with weapons.
It's so cool. It's so cool.
And we got free tickets for you. So we'll be doing that. You know, last night, I don't know if you feel the same way. I watched the first night of the DNC, and I was locked in. I was there for it. And then last night, I was trying. Gosh darn it. I gave it the college try.
I told myself I'd be awake for it, and then I accidentally fell asleep at 6 o'clock and didn't have to worry about it.
Well, so I'm doing show prep. I'm doing two things at once. You know, channeling my inner Travis Kelce. And so I'm multitasking. And as I'm watching the DNC, I find out that a podcast just dropped with Theo Von, who's a stand-up comedian in Nashville, and Donald Trump.
Interesting.
And it's about an hour long. And
you probably didn't have to pay him to do it, too.
And I was like, you know what? I think I've heard enough of the echo chamber from the DNC. It was early enough where I could tune out and tune back in time for Barack Obama and Michelle Obama.
Nice.
Which is really like that's the meat and potatoes of last night.
Oh, 100%.
They had Bernie Sanders speaking too, and we'll definitely get to Bernie. But the Democrats were just echo chamber last night, and they were echo chamber night one as well. Even Democrat Chicago Alderman Raymond Lopez admitted on Fox News that this DNC is not winning any new voters.
Raymond Lopez, Alderman Lopez, great to see you. Democrats winning any new voters at this convention?
I highly doubt it. I think this is all playing to their own base, not trying to recruit new people, because clearly the Democratic Party, my party, is not interested in talking about what matters. How are you going to keep people safe? How are you going to secure the border? And how are you going to deal with the 8 million undocumented individuals that they let in under Kamala Harris's lead?
Yeah, they haven't been trying to reach out to new voters at all. I think that's one of the things that the RNC actually did very, very well. They did reach out to new voters. And as I'm watching, I'm getting the same sense. This is just Democrat echo chamber. Orange man bad. We're not going back. Don't mind the fact that Democrats have been in control for 12 of the last 16 years. It's all Donald Trump's fault. And I hit my limit. I hit my limit. And then that podcast dropped. It's called, what's the name of the podcast? It's called, oh, shoot, I'm drawing a blank. Oh, This Past Weekend with Theo Von. That's the name of the podcast. Now, maybe you don't know who Theo Von is, but he's got a big following. I mean, this guy's got 6 million followers on Instagram. He's got 2.9 million subscribers on YouTube. He's got a few million on Twitter. People know him.
He's absolutely huge and he's on every platform.
And he's hilarious.
I've known about him for like a couple of years, and every time I see his face pop up, I know something big is about to happen.
And the thing that's crazy is that the Democrats aren't trying to reach across the aisle at all. Donald Trump did with this podcast. Donald Trump has had a solid strategy. And they went into the podcast, and Theo Von says, thanks to Dana White for helping set this up. Theo Von's a huge UFC fan. And Trump says, who's a big fan of yours is Barron. Barron Trump is a big fan of yours. So Trump is reaching a younger demo once again, just like he did with the Twitter space with Elon, where 77% of the viewers that tuned in live were under the age of 34. He's touching a much younger group, And so I see these clips circulating on Twitter, and it seemed hilarious.
Great time. We had the greatest economy in history when I was president. We had
my cousin got a boat.
Numbers. Yeah, we had the best job numbers.
He said that we had the greatest, Trump is doing Trump stuff. We had the greatest economy. And then Theo goes, oh, yeah, my cousin got a boat during your economy.
I don't think anybody can afford like another bike during this economy currently.
So it's really like a cool clash of personalities. And one of the things that came up was addiction. And I'll tell you what, as a guy that has struggled with his own problems with alcohol, I'm sober now, and I'm grateful to the Lord for that. And I know so many people out there do struggle with this. To hear Donald Trump talk about his brother's battle with alcoholism humanized him to the core. to the core. And it's so relatable. And we don't get any moments like that with the Democrats. Ever. Kamala Harris isn't relatable. She's not relatable at all. She said Doritos. I'm looking for some Doritos. Can someone help me find the Doritos? Kamala Harris is so unrelatable that she had to empty out Primanti Brothers in Moon Township, Pennsylvania, and fill the restaurant up with actors in order to have, a decent conversation. She didn't want to be set up. Kamala Harris, when she was talking to kids on a viral video about science and space exploration, they hired child actors. She's not relatable in the least. She can't deal with people. Trump can. He can. He just gets it. And he has this conversation with Theo Vaughn where they talk about a myriad of things, and the conversation goes to addiction. And this is like a common theme in the podcast. Theo Vaughn is going through the recovery and dealing with sobriety on his own, and God bless him for that. I think that's a story that needs to be told, especially to young people. That you need to hear that, especially from people you look up to. And to have Donald Trump talk about his brother dealing with addiction, man, it was fantastic. And then you got absolutely hilarious moments like this when the topic of cocaine comes up.
No, I would just do cocaine. That was really, yeah. So not just, yeah.
That's down and dirty, right?
Yeah, and it was, yeah.
But you don't anymore?
No, I don't do it anymore, man, and I'm not doing it.
Is it too much? Too much to handle?
Some of the stuff started to get a real rattle in it, too. I don't know where we were even getting it from in this country, but yeah, it started to make me feel like I was a mechanic or something.
So the thing you go back to then is alcohol for the most part.
Right, yeah, but what I want probably is cocaine, but I know that if I have a drink, then it'll be like, okay, well, I had a drink, then I can do this.
Is cocaine a stronger
oh, yeah.
up?
Yeah. Cocaine
So you're way up with cocaine more than anything else you can think of.
Cocaine will turn you into a damn owl, homie, you know what I'm saying? You'll be out on your own porch, you know, and you'll be your own street lamp. You're freaking...
So he's explaining to Donald Trump what cocaine does. Because I don't know if you know this, Trump has never smoked a cigarette, never had a sip of alcohol in his life. And he credits that in the podcast to his brother and watching his brother deal with his own battles and his own demons with addiction. And, you know, to hear Theo Vaughn go, oh, cocaine will turn you into a straight up owl on your porch, homie. It's just like things I didn't expect to happen in 2024. So while Kamala Harris and the DNC is not even attempting to reach across the aisle, Donald Trump is joining a podcast with Theo Vaughn that has garnered over 3.5 million views since it dropped last night during the DNC. And this podcast, the previous guest on it was Bernie Sanders. This is not just a political podcast. This is a culture podcast. They've had guests like Luke Combs and Ed Sheeran and Tommy Lee. This is a cultural moment. And to hear Donald Trump get up there and talk about his brother's battles with addiction and talk about how that's affecting America, it's really humanizing.
Oh, yeah.
Up?
Yeah. Cocaine
So you're way up with cocaine more than anything else you can think of.
Cocaine will turn you into a damn owl, homie. You know what I'm saying? You'll be out on your own porch, you know, and you'll be your own street lamp. You're freaking...
And is that a good feeling? Well,
no,
it's a miserable feeling.
But you do it anyway, just like the guy you're saying with the scotch.
It's a miserable feeling, but you do it anyway. Listen, so many people that know someone that's dealt with addiction or have dealt with addiction themselves, that line right there, it's a miserable feeling, but you do it anyway. Whew. I mean, it hits, man. It hits. It was an extraordinary conversation, and there was actually some real meat to it, where Theo brings up the fact that in America, we're one of the only countries where pharmaceutical companies are allowed to advertise on TV. And Donald Trump said, yeah, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. He said, you know, we have 1,800 big pharma lobbyists in this country, Mr. Trump, but we have 535 members of Congress. Does that mean we have a drug government operating in D.C.? I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. I guess you're right. Why? Well, why? Well, I think that they're just profiting off pain. They're profiting off pain. And when you look at what's happening in this world, and they brought up the Sackler family and the opioid crisis and how they got away with essentially a slap on the wrist. It's a fascinating conversation, and I implore you, it's about an hour long. It's about an hour long. Do it later on tonight after Murphy, after Wilson. Watch this. And if you have older kids, you have teenagers, I would think that this could be something that you could watch with them, especially because you get a real honest conversation about addiction that you don't get a lot of places in America. You just don't. So credit to Theo Von. Excellent job doing the interview. Excellent job being who he is and not changing for the conversation. And Donald Trump did an excellent job too, just being open and honest. I mean, telling stories about his brother that he lost. It hits you because I think in this country, everybody's dealt with somebody that they've lost to addiction, or, quite frankly, and I know you probably understand what I'm saying. If you're in our listening audience, somebody going through it now, and you're like mourning the living. It's a tough thing to deal with. I think it was an excellent conversation. It's Donald Trump reaching across the aisle. Kamala Harris did come up at one point, and Donald Trump said, Theo said, I'd have her on, and Trump said, well, maybe you could make her exciting.
And she has no clue. And you know what I say about her? Why don't you do it? She complains about everything. She's been there for 3.5 years. Why don't you do it? All you have to do is say, why don't you do it? Why didn't you fix it? You could fix it right now. Don't, do whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
And she won't talk to you, and she won't talk to anybody. She won't be interviewed.
She's welcome to come on. I would love to get to talk to her.
I'm sure she'd be very exciting. Actually, you could make her exciting, probably.
You think?
Yeah, I think so.
Somebody said she's a good roller skater. That's what I heard, which is crazy.
That's about it.
Trump was doing his own thing, man. Being honest, being human, being funny. Nobody gives him enough credit for how funny he is. Theo goes, I heard she's a good roller skater. That's about it. Listen, if you haven't watched it, there's definitely clips going viral. This is definitely going to reach critical mass. But they had Bernie Sanders on last week. Last week, he had Bernie Sanders on as a guest. And it's so crazy because Bernie Sanders is talking at the DNC. Bernie Sanders is talking about how they can rig primaries and all this and that. It's like, yeah, sound familiar, Bernie? That happened to you in 2016 and in 2020. It happened to RFK in 2024. Like the DNC, they care about democracy. But Bernie Sanders goes out there and he endorses Kamala Harris and he endorses Tim Walz last night, which is it just feels so fake. Yet last week, he's on with Theo Von on the exact same podcast, which I'll just be perfectly honest with you, has about 1/3 of the views and about 7 times the amount of time people have had to watch it. And Trump and Theo talked about that interview as well. Trump was kind of shocked that he was impressed with Bernie. He said, well, it's about the medical stuff. It's about the medical industrial complex. That's what resonates with him. And Bernie, while he was on the podcast, he's talking about how, we are a democracy, but we have an oligarchy working in the background.
So if you're asking me, are we a democracy? In one sense, we are. All right, you can run for office. You can raise your issues. On the other hand, in terms of who has the real power, money people do. And I use the term oligarchy. An oligarchy is a society where small numbers of very wealthy people control the economic and political life of the country. I think we are moving rapidly in that direction.
So Bernie Sanders is absolutely aware of what's happening behind the scenes at the DNC, yet he's more than happy to keep getting those checks and endorse Harris Walz. That is a phony. And he did endorse Harris and Walz last night at the DNC, and I'll bring you some of Bernie's highlights after the break. It's 9:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. That's you, Ken. This is the new tease bed on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Award-winning newsman extraordinaire, Ken Weaver.
Got a crash right now blocking the right lane of 65 northbound before Moores Lane in Cool Springs. And we have learned the identity of the person ambushed and murdered in Donaldson. Coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. It's 9:26 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Ken winning a major award last night. Ken, what was the award for again?
I think the radio reporter whose parents have the most influence in Middle Tennessee.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I don't think that's the case. Hold on there.
Give my boy that award.
He deserves that.
I'll come over there from Tulsa and whip some. Well,
we've known for a while that Ken was the best newscaster in Middle Tennessee. Finally, people are catching up to us. That seems to be a conservative theme, though. You know, we're just ahead of the curve. It happens so often. So, you know, stay tuned. We'll let you know what's going to happen in 6 months next. Listen, all right. So we were talking about the Theo Vaughn interview with Donald Trump, which is it's reaching a younger generation. I made the mistake of saying Trump is touching a younger generation.
Yeah.
I don't want to confuse him with Democrats. So he's reaching a younger generation. But the guy that was on it last week was Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders was speaking at the DNC last night. Bernie Sanders has no self-awareness whatsoever. And you know, he's on the Theo Vaughn podcast last week saying that there's an oligarchy and money people running politics. And then, you know, after being screwed out of 2 primaries, he gets up on stage, he takes the money, and he endorses Harris and Walz. And while he's there at the DNC, which may be one of my favorite moments from the night, you have Bernie Sanders on stage blaming billionaires for everything. And then immediately following, you get J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, saying, "Listen to me, I'm a billionaire."
We need an economy that works for all of us, not just the billionaire class.
A few moments later.
Thinks that we should trust him on the economy because he claims to be very rich. But take it from an actual billionaire.
Self-awareness is not one of the strengths of the Democrats. Not one bit. Take it from me, an actual billionaire. We shouldn't be trusting billionaires. J.B. Pritzker, he paid like $350 million of his own money to run his campaign.
Holy cow.
And what has he done for Illinois? It's a long list.
Yeah.
What's he done for Chicago? Heck of a list. Wow.
Still trying to think of something.
Please clap.
He nailed it.
the begging in the back. Please clap.
Please
clap.
Please trust me. I'm a billionaire. And by the way, billionaires are bad. Also, there was a whole lot of last night of Donald Trump didn't build anything on his own. He was born with a silver spoon. Okay, again, the self-awareness. J.B. Pritzker. What has he done on his own? He's an heir to the Pritzker fortune. Like, congratulations. You got those people in your own party. You have them. And they completely disregard the businesses that Donald Trump built. They disregard quite a few things. It's just Democrats. Just Democrats. I could not believe that he did this. J.B. Pritzker also went back to the well and did what Joe Biden did and pushed disproven hoaxes.
During COVID, we supported small businesses and jobs. And Donald told us to inject bleach.
Yeah, all debunked, all lies. That was the DNC. They were giving red meat to their base. Chuck Schumer said it's the most unified DNC ever. He really said that. I'll explain why he is absolutely lying after Ken's award-winning newscast, which happens right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. And Ukraine has been targeting Moscow overnight in what that Russian city's mayor is calling one of the biggest attempted drone attacks on the Russian capital of this war so far. The city's air defense is hugely active, shooting down at least 11 attack drones. Explosions reported in the night sky. Here in Nashville, we have learned the identity of the person murdered in the backyard of a short-term rental in Donaldson this week. Channel 4 says Xavier Johnson, a 20-year-old of Clarksville, was lured to that property by a man and a woman and then ambushed and killed. Idaho college murders. Defense attorneys for the suspect accused of murdering 4 college students in Idaho say the trial should be relocated. They're basing all of this on a survey they conducted in various areas of the state and in Moscow, where they say they found a mob mentality, noting one respondent said they would burn down the courthouse if Koberger were acquitted. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. 9:31 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's Chris Hand for my friends at United Structural Systems. Now, United Structural Systems have been doing the work they do since 1994. They aren't going anywhere in Middle Tennessee. Well, what do these guys do? Well, a little bit of everything from foundation repair to sinkhole repair, basement wall realignment to crawl space encapsulation, and anything you might need when it comes to waterproofing or foundation repair. And again, they've been doing it for decades. They aren't going anywhere, and that's huge. You can't trust that when you're working with the new guy in town. The new guy in town, you have no guarantee that they're ever going to be around should you have a warranty issue. That's not the thing with USS. In fact, they're so confident in their warranties that they'll leave it for life. Even if you leave the house, the warranty can stay. They trust their warranty. If you got foundation repair or waterproofing work to be done, call USS to take a look. 615-488-7855. 25,000 satisfied customers can't be wrong. 615-488-7855. Online at USSTN.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
9:37 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram at Chris Hand on Air. Mason Fleming is producing. Our award-winning news director is in the newsroom, Ken Weaver. And last night, Chuck Schumer said something that really made me go, that's weird. That's weird. I know. I'm taking it back.
I was like, I feel like we're doing that a lot recently with the Democrats.
I'm taking it back. I was using weird before they were using weird. So, Chuck Schumer said, I kid you not. He has the audacity to say, this is the most unified DNC ever. Ever. I kid you not. He said it's the most unified DNC ever. And I wonder if they're keeping him in a bunker, because if you're paying attention to the news, the left doesn't seem unified at all with the rioters and the crazed leftists outside the DNC.
What they're burning right now, they burned an American flag and a Jewish flag, or a combination of the Stars and Stripes and the Magen David. And that's when we saw a conflict right away, because someone came in and stopped them from burning the flag. And then we saw some pushing and shoving. It looked like it was going to turn into a fight. But I should mention that this demonstration, this group calls themselves Behind Enemy Lines. You can see a lot of the familiar clothes. They made a very deliberate confrontation with the police here.
Deliberate confrontations with the police. Far leftist agitators that are just absolutely pissed. But it's the most unified. It's the most unified. Now, that's the Fox News clip, and they're not going to tell you exactly what happened with the flag burning and the confrontation. But I'll tell you, a competing news station, Real America's Voice, you may be familiar with it. They have a fantastic reporter by the name of Ben Burkham. And Ben saw these leftist radicals going to burn an American flag, and he tried to stop them. The guy has cojones. He ran up and he grabbed the American flag, gets into it with these Antifa militants, these pro-Hamas protesters, and he was overwhelmed. He was unsuccessful. But golly, man, the absolute spine to say, I'm going to at least try to stop this, because nobody else was stopping it. There were no Democrats trying to stop it. I was actually really impressed by his actions, and it's been crazy. They say it's the most. Chuck Schumer said it's the most unified ever. He boasted that it's the most unified ever. I don't know if you've been following the coverage, but you're having warnings being issued to disperse. You're having clashes with police. They're tearing down walls that have been set up. I know the Democrats, they build walls around the DNC, not at our border. I know. But Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer claimed that this year's Democrat National Convention has been the most unified ever. He said that, according to the New York Daily News, Schumer hailed Kamala Harris on Tuesday, saying, "I've not found a convention more focused, more excited, and more unified. Everyone is coming together, from the most liberal to the most moderate." It's just a lie. It's just a lie. In fact, your most liberal, your most progressive are actually very upset with quote unquote moderates of the party. I don't know which parts of the party you would consider moderate. Maybe the ones that want to take our wealth are the moderate ones, but I digress. The most unified. It's estimated that there's 100,000 pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel Democrat protesters in Chicago, airing their grievances. Mayor Brandon Johnson of Chicago is on record saying that it's a privilege to have them there to air their grievances. It's a downright privilege. But it's the most unified. It's very, very unified. In fact, it's so unified that during the women's caucus at the DNC, they were interrupted by Gaza protesters as well. "Stop killing women in Gaza," the group shouted. One woman waved a keffiyeh, while the others held up a pink sign that read, "Free, free Palestine." The group of protesters had to be separated from a stage, and DNC attendees at the women's caucus meeting by fencing. Security guards were seen escorting the protesters away from that event. that, of course, Tim Walz was at. This is the most unified. And that comes after the security barrier surrounding Chicago's United Center, where everything's taking place, was breached by agitators Monday evening. At least 4 people were arrested after that group removed a section of the security fencing. This is the most unified ever. It's the most unified ever. Gaza protesters are even going after Jewish Democrats as well. That's unification. You know what I mean? They're unified. Also, there's been the most unifying of bomb threats during the DNC. It's the most unified ever. The bomb threats are bringing people together. There's been a lot of bomb threats at the DNC area hotels. The threat noted that the DNC is taking place this week in the area and also included anti-Semitic statement on the second day of the Democrat National Convention in Chicago. At least 4 hotels in the city's west side where the convention is taking place were reportedly hit with bomb threats that included anti-Semitic statements. This is the most unified DNC ever. It's been a lot of bomb threats. Unifying bomb threats. It's unifying bomb threats. You can't make this stuff up. There's a lot more than 4. Some are tallying it as high as 14 bomb threats in the 1st District, the 12th District, the 18th District, everywhere from Buckingham Room to Michigan Plaza to the St. Regis Hotel to just about every Hyatt in the city. The Nobu Hotel, the Hotel Chicago on the West Loop, the Omni Hotel, the Peninsula Hotel Chicago, the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, the 10-pin bowling lounge, a lot of bomb threats. Unifying bomb threats, mind you. Because as Chuck Schumer said, this is the most unifying DNC ever. Don't you feel it? Don't you feel the unification? Everybody's coming together as they're being escorted out of the hotels for bomb threats. So that's unification, I guess. Higgins in Cedar Hill wants to talk about the current election. What's up, Higgins? Thanks for holding, man.
Hey, what's going on, man? I'm hanging in there like a dingleberry. I wanted to make a couple statements or comments. First, if you're talking about unified, I've watched a few clips, and if unified means a bunch of ladies up on stage sounding like, fingernails down a chalkboard, that's definitely true, because I heard a lot of screeching that I almost couldn't stand.
That was pretty unifying. We all couldn't believe that they did that.
They were definitely making sure they were loud enough for everybody to hear them, that's for sure.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I don't know if y'all have talked about this or not, but I noticed something last night that I'm a bit concerned about, and I'm honestly wondering what's going to happen if this comes to fruition. I saw that Rikers Island and the mayor of New York said that not only is the mayor of New York trying to fight the feds from taking over Rikers Island before Trump apparently gets there, but they are preparing to receive him, and the judge is preparing to give him a year. What are we going to do if this judge locks him up? And I can definitely hang up and listen.
Listen. So they're going to prepare regardless, right? Because the opportunity, the possibility is there. Like the preparation is definitely it's got to happen. It's got to happen one way or the other because the chance is there. I don't think that they're going to send him to jail. I just don't. I think the most realistic opportunity, the most realistic option would be a house arrest situation where they take him off the campaign trail, but they don't go full. Prison sentence. That's my guess. That's what I could see happening. But nothing's off the table, and nobody knows what's going to happen until the 18th, right?
Right, and I think that's what I'm most concerned about, because everybody talks about, well, there's going to be civil war if they keep him. Well, I can tell you right now, I'm a married man with 4 kids and a full-time job and lots of bills. I would love to be a part of that, but I also need to make sure my bills are paid.
Yeah, we can't be advocating for civil war. And I'll tell you what, if there's protests outside Rikers Island, the overweight gentleman screaming that we have to storm the gate is probably a Fed. So I would warn against that. If they do send him to jail, I think it's just going to strengthen our cause, man. It doesn't. Part of me hopes that they would. I wish they would.
Yeah. I mean, I just hope that, because somebody, and I agree with Trump because he said we got to get the Supreme Court involved. I believe that judge is compromised, and he's been compromised since the beginning. So,
100%. And you look at the financial ties of his daughter to Democrats. The fact that Trump is still under a gag order, he can't talk about this kind of stuff. It's a clown show.
Right.
It's an absolute clown show. Yeah, appreciate the call, man. Thanks so much. Let's go to Eric in Morristown. Eric, every time you call in, people say we got to get you your own show here. What's up, Eric?
Hey, bro, I appreciate that. I'm just me, man. I'm just one man marching along. Hey, real quick, I'll keep it quick. J.D. Pritzker, governor of Illinois, he had a brother who served honorably and retired, I believe is maybe a lieutenant colonel or a colonel. I can't remember if it was the Air Force and Army. It's been a while since I read about this. Who is now his sister and is using that money, their family money, billionaires and millionaires and yada, yada, to fund research that is pro-transitioning children.
Yeah, that doesn't shock me. Yeah, I just looked up a picture. I'm pretty sure it's the one that goes by Jennifer Pritzker.
Yeah, it could be. His name. I forget his name. It could have been like Matthew. Man, one of those good Christian names: Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. But how should I say this? That's where some of that money's going. So they're not going to say anything about that billionaire, even though the irony of it on its face. And you and I both know, what's been going on at Vanderbilt and how they shut that down, or they attempt to shut that down. So anyway, there's a lot more going on than what people are seeing, and it doesn't take that much. And I recommend not using Google as your primary search engine of choice. That's all I'm going to say, man. I appreciate the time, dude, and you have a good morning, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate the call. Yeah, there's definitely some weird stuff in the Pritzker family, including J.B. Pritzker's cousin, Thomas Pritzker. He's one of the Hyatt billionaires, governor's cousin. He was named all over the Jeffrey Epstein documents, things that Democrats don't want to talk about, right? Seems like there's a lot of those these days, but it's the most unifying we've ever seen them. Don't you feel it? I feel it too. Michelle Obama, she did her best at unifying people. Barack Obama did his best, and while I was watching those, I got to tell you, I was listening and I was like, yeah, they're great speeches, great. I didn't think they believed a word they were saying, and I felt like they don't believe that they're going to win.
Yeah, it felt more like an obligation than it did a actual caring about their party.
Nailed it. We'll get into some of those. I keep calling them highlights, clips. We'll get into the clips.
Audios.
We'll play the audio. The actualities, as Murphy said yesterday. We'll play some of the actualities of Michelle O and Barry on the way. It's 9:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. There's a lot of uncertainty with the election coming up. If Kamala wins, if Trump wins, what does the tax plans look like? What do capital gains taxes look like? What do unrealized gains look like? What do you do? Well, I'll give you some advice. Talk to somebody that knows what they're talking about. That's what I do, and that's why I talk to Paul Winkler and Paul Winkler, Inc. I trust Paul and his team. If you've ever heard his show on the weekends, the Investor Coaching Show from 3 to 6, you probably trust Paul already. And you get the same guy from the radio show when you meet with him in person. Paul's been doing this a long time, and he spent some time studying under an economist who went on to win a Nobel Prize. That's how he got his feet wet, and he's an avid collector of financial planning designations. He has up to 8 now. So I work with Paul. I get paid to do the commercials, and Paul wants to make sure I tell you that because he wants the transparency and the honesty, but I don't get paid to be a client. I'm a client because I trust Paul. I like that his team does nothing on commission, and I love the education they provide. You should set up a 15-minute phone call with Paul Winkler and his team today. It's super easy to do it. You just go to paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
traffic problem in Williamson County. It is stop and go starting at Saturn Parkway, 65 northbound. There's a crash there at June Lake Boulevard. And there has been a mass shooting at a school overseas. Details coming up at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Man, headlines you don't want to hear. It's 9:58 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Sending our prayers out there. Looking forward to Ken Weaver's newscast on the way. Michelle Obama, she had a speech last night. I got to tell you, while we can look at this and we can debunk the lies, when she was on stage last night, I had a feeling that Trump dodged 2 bullets in this election cycle. Seriously. She speaks so smooth, man. It would have been a completely different fight if it was Michelle Obama as the nominee. And she said until recently, she had a deep pit in her stomach.
Until recently, I have mourned the dimming of that hope. And maybe you've experienced the same feelings, that deep pit in my stomach, a palpable sense of dread.
Yeah, palpable sense of dread. You know, luckily for the left, they actually did a coup on Joe Biden. So that palpable sense of dread has gone away from Michelle Obama. She had a lot more to say. We have a lot more clips of that on the way after Ken's newscast on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ten o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. And again, stop and go traffic in Williamson County. It starts at Saturn Parkway. It's due to a crash on 65 northbound at June Lake Boulevard. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. And right now, a school shooting overseas under investigation. Tom Rivers says at least 3 people dead at a school in Bosnia.
An employee in a secondary school in Sanski, some 180 miles northwest of Sarajevo, shot and killed the principal, a teacher, and a secretary. Local TV reports the man had a dispute over management at the school. He used a military weapon, an automatic rifle. Most students were away for the summer break, but a few were around taking exams.
War is intensifying overseas. Ukraine has been targeting Moscow overnight in what the Russian mayor of that city is calling one of the biggest attempted drone attacks on the Russian capital since Russia invaded Ukraine. The city's air defense is hugely active, shooting down at least 11 attack drones. Ian Pannell says there were explosions reported in the night sky.
Vladimir Putin has been talking about the Ukrainians inside Russia, but interestingly, this is only the first time he's mentioned it in more than a week, promising to punish what he calls the criminals, but I think notably failing to do so. The Kremlin response has been plodding at best, and for now it seems incapable of retaking control of this vital border area.
Northern Israel is bracing for another day of intense Hezbollah attacks after more than 115 rockets hit that area on Tuesday. And here in Nashville, Metro Police releasing the identity of the man who was lured to a home in Donaldson and then murdered. Channel 4's 20-year-old Xavier J. Johnson of Clarksville was shot several times. The search is on for a man and a woman. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
10:05 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I just received confirmation from our friend Savannah Hernandez, who has been crisscrossing between Illinois and Wisconsin, that she's going to be joining the show at 10:35.
Nice.
Savage.
Dude, she's a beast. She was at the Harris rally in Milwaukee last night. She's been on the ground covering protests at the DNC, and she's back near the United Center today to cover all that. Did anybody else realize how weird that was last night? That they went full WrestleMania 3 to have Harris live at the DNC from Milwaukee? Does anybody get the reference? WrestleMania 3 was in like 3 different cities at once.
Yeah.
They go right over your head. It blew my mind. And I feel like it was a missed opportunity. Like, you should be at the DNC. Like, that's where you're supposed to be.
It's like your whole event kind of thing.
Yeah, it's for you. They also wasted a ton of time. Like, they did the delegate roll call during prime time, but she was already nominee. Like, they already did that on a virtual roll call. So why not, like, introduce the voters to Kamala Harris? You just decided not to. They don't want voters to know Kamala Harris. And Michelle Obama was doing her thing last night, too. It was a doozy. I tell you what, while I can watch the Michelle Obama speech and be like, bleh, there are people out there that are going to watch her and be wooed by her sweet words and the way that she speaks. But she didn't really talk about anything. She did kind of say that before they did the coup, she was a little bit panicked.
Until recently, I have mourned the dimming of that hope. And maybe you've experienced the same feelings, that deep pit in my stomach, a palpable sense of dread about the future.
Yeah, palpable sense of dread about the future. She feels better, though, after the Obamas and Pelosi have essentially stabbed Joe Biden in the back and thrown him out with the trash. So that's nice. It's nice. She also had this to say about Kamala Harris. She said she's one of the most qualified people ever to seek the office of presidency.
States of America. My girl, Kamala Harris, is more than ready for this moment. She is one of the most qualified people ever to seek the office of the presidency.
How many votes she get? It's a long list.
She is one of the most dignified.
Okay, let's ask Willie Brown's wife.
A tribute to her mother, to my mother, and to your mother too.
Okay. Are we just ignoring? We're just going to ignore how she got her way into politics? Is that the plan? That she slept her way to the top with Willie Brown? That's just. We're not going to talk about it. Okay.
The embodiment of the stories we tell ourselves about this country.
They are stories.
Her story is your story. It's my story. It's the story of the vast majority of Americans trying to build a better life. Look, Kamala knows, like we do, that regardless of where you come from, what you look like, who you love, how you worship, or what's in your bank account, we all deserve the opportunity to build a decent life.
Yeah, but we haven't been able to have that opportunity under a Biden-Harris administration, and I don't want it to make it seem like I'm anti-woman president. I'm just anti-Kamala Harris. I have 2 daughters. I'd love for them to think that they can become president one day. I'd rather them looking up to somebody like Sarah Huckabee Sanders than Kamala Harris. I think that would be a much better route to go. But the Democrats, they prop up who they can control, right? And they can control Kamala Harris, and they're trying to control the narrative. The DNC crowd started chanting, "Do something," during the Michelle Obama speech. Let's do something. It's funny because Republicans have been saying that for the last 3.5 years. Will you do something? Do something about the border. Do something about inflation. And Kamala Harris will tell us, "Oh, I'm gonna do something. I sure am on day one." And we're all standing over here like, "You've always had the power. You could do it now. You could do it now, but you won't because you can't. You're afraid to even sit down for an interview with Fox News. How can we trust you to sit across the table from Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping? Do something." But again, we have been saying that for a while. For a while.
Most of us will never be afforded the grace of failing forward. We will never benefit from the affirmative action of generational wealth.
Says Michelle Obama, who's worth $70 million, has 3 homes. Her daughters are going to absolutely benefit from generational wealth. Failing forward. Kamala Harris was the first person to fall out of the race in 2020, received 0 votes. She was polling lower than Pete Buttigieg. The mayor of South Bend was beating you in the polls. You dropped out first. You failed forward after calling Joe Biden a racist into the VP chair because you checked the boxes.
If we bankrupt a business or choke in a crisis, we don't get a second, third, or fourth chance.
Listen, I think that you bankrupted a lot of businesses in the 3.5 years Biden and Harris have been in power. I don't think that you should get a second, third, or fourth chance. I actually agree with that statement a lot.
If things don't go our way, we don't have the luxury of whining or cheating others to get further ahead. No.
Literally, the entire DNC has been whining about Orange Man bad and ignoring the fact that 12 of the last 16 years have been ruled by Democrats. We don't get to whine. We don't. Okay. Yeah, all right.
We don't get to change the rules, so we always win.
Is she serious? Here's the thing. We can look at this and completely understand that they changed the rules to win because of COVID. They weaponized COVID to win in 2020. Mail-in ballots. Accepting ballots past the date of the election, no big deal. No big deal. We don't get to change the rules so we always win. She's gaslighting the American public. And we dodged a bullet, guys, because she does it so smooth and so effectively. Kamala Harris could never, ever do it the way Michelle Obama does it. Seriously, she whispers these sweet nothings and she slips poison into our drink while smiling in our face, and she does a good job at it. You have to give credit where credit is due. Trump dodged 2 bullets this election cycle. 2.
If we see a mountain in front of us, we don't expect there to be an escalator waiting to take us to the top.
Okay, yeah. Yep. Little jabs.
No. We put our heads down. We get to work. In America, we do something.
Okay, yeah, you haven't in 3.5 years. We get to work. Nancy Pelosi was literally on CNN a year ago saying Kamala Harris doesn't do anything as vice president because that's the job. That's the job. Listen, she does a good job. She does. And I think we all have to be thanking the Lord that Michelle Obama is not the nominee today. It would be a much, much different fight. A much different fight. But this is all going to be forgotten about. We got another 70 plus days. This great speech by Michelle Obama is not going to be the final word before November 5th. And I don't think the Obamas really believe in Kamala Harris. I don't think that they believe in Tim Walz. I don't. but the Democrats believe in the Obamas. And if we were running against Michelle, it'd be a different race. Mike in Spring Hill has a comment on Michelle O. What's up, Mike?
Hey, Chris. Thanks for taking my call. I've watched Michelle over the years. I'm from the Chicago area originally. But I remember her first statement when her husband ran for president. You know, she wasn't proud of this country until her husband ran, who was black.
Mm-hmm.
Now she says she had a pit in her stomach, and it's gone because now a black woman is running. I truly believe she is a racist, and if you listen to her, she uses code words like last night in that speech, you know what I mean, you know what I mean. And one little short story, she was on a talk show, late-night talk show host years ago, and she told us a little story about a white woman, short white woman, asked her to get a can off the top shelf. And Michelle looked at it like this white lady was a racist because she thought I was a worker there. Well, she didn't know what the hell she meant. I mean, this is a short lady asking a tall lady to get a can off the shelf, but that's not how Michelle looked at it.
Everything is racism to the modern day left. Everything.
Oh yes, and to the Obamas.
Yep.
Just listen to their code words.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Mike, and I appreciate the call, man. Let's go to Steven in Paris, who has a comment on Michelle. What's up, Steve?
Hey, man, I saw a lot of fear in her facial expressions as she was going through her little show there.
Yep.
The fear is about not really whether they're going to win or lose, but they know that when they lose, all hell's coming after them because there's a lot of stuff that they've been doing behind the curtains that they're getting ready to be shown for. But here's what I just want to express to everybody, and I'm sure you already know this. When she's up there speaking, and the same with Obama, both of them, they're not really speaking to the Democratic Party. They're speaking to people of color. When they say we, when she puts an emphasis on we, and every time they say we and us, you can clearly, if you go back and watch her and watch them speak, you can tell, man, they're not speaking, they're trying to win back the black votes that they know that they're losing because they're the Uncle Toms. They're the ones that sold their own people out. So, pretty much that's what I got from it.
Yeah, I hear you. And you know what, Steve makes a good point. They're the ones that sold their people out. It's funny you bring that up because Benny Johnson was actually out in the south side of Chicago. Do you know Benny Johnson? He's a great media guy, has a good podcast. And he went out in the south side of Chicago last night, and he went around and asked, the Obama's neighbors who they want for president. And these people in the south side of Chicago agree with what Steve said. The Obamas haven't done anything for them. They sold them out. So Benny Johnson's out there saying, hey, what do you think about Kamala Harris? What do you think about Trump? Who are you voting for?
I'll vote for Trump. Me too. I'll go for Donald Trump. Me too. I'll go for Trump.
Who are you voting for in 2024?
Trump too.
And why is that, ma'am?
He the best president ever.
Has Barack Obama done anything for around here? And
he never did anything since he been in office.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he out. Trump the best.
Barack Obama? I ain't got no message to him. I don't mess with Barack Obama.
Yeah.
No, I'm a Trump supporter. Trump do more for black people and care more about black people. And Barack Obama ain't black. Just let that be known.
Yeah, right. What about Kamala Harris?
I don't with her either.
These are people on the south side of Chicago. Black voters on the south side of Chicago. Oh my gosh, the raw honesty.
All Trump all day.
Yeah. What's your message to Donald Trump today?
Keep going. Come get us, man. We waiting on you.
I'm a Trump supporter, man. We gonna keep this going. Trump, he a real businessman. I'm a real Republican, man. I want Trump back in office second term.
What would be your message to Barack Obama?
I don't know, pump some money in here. Pump some money like Trump,
Your message to Donald Trump?
Come on, man, get us to the Super Bowl, bro. Make America great, man. That's all I can say. Make America great.
Everyone's so friendly around here.
Yeah,
everyone's so friendly around here.
need that person. I'm supposed to be interviewing people.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be somewhere chilling.
I need chain game. Like
You
this.
supposed to have me interview him.
Here we go. What's up, my
Who we
guy?
need up in there? Who we finna let drop a bag in the hood? Who we want to get the bag back going in the hood?
Y'all know we gonna need Trump in that joint.
I mean, that's how the south side of Chicago feels. You can hear Michelle Obama. She's panicked. You can hear the people in these neighborhoods where the Obamas are from. They don't think the Obamas helped them at all. They're leaning towards Trump. I think we're going to get a massive, massive swing from the black vote. But I do think when you listen to that Michelle Obama speech, we definitely dodged a bullet not having her as the candidate. 100%. 100%. She speaks smooth. She tells those sweet, sweet lies. So does Barack Obama. I have highlights from the Barack Obama speech on the way. Also at 10:35, Savannah Hernandez is going to be joining the show. Savannah is an investigative reporter. She's been on the ground at the DNC. She was up in Milwaukee last night for the Kamala Harris rally. She's been everywhere covering protests and all of this madness at the DNC. We're going to ask her if she agrees with Chuck Schumer that this is the most unified DNC ever. That's around 10:35. And then around 10:55, we're going to be giving away tickets for Armored MMA. I know, we got some free stuff. So that'd be cool. That'd be cool. It's full armor MMA fighting.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got to explain that.
So these guys have like swords, and they're in like knight's armor.
Yeah, it just sounds dope.
And they're going at it.
There's charging each other, fighting.
We've had the guy that runs Armored MMA call in a bunch. Yeah. And he wants us to get down there and do it. So we're going to give away some tickets. It's something
Next
cool.
live show?
It's something cool. Yeah, we should do a live
Next
show.
live show from Armored MMA.
We should. There'd be a lot of clanging in the background.
Maybe distance a little bit, but
yeah, we'll get to that on the way. Plus some of these clips from Barack Obama. It's 10:22 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
All right, Williamson County still dealing with that crash. The slowdown starts at Saturn Parkway. It is 65 northbound. The crash is at June Lake Boulevard. And Money News, a new report shows where rent for a one-bedroom apartment is still available for under $1,000 in Middle Tennessee. Coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. 10:26 on Super Talk. My name is Chris And. You know, they've been saying we can't let the billionaires run the country. We gotta make billionaires pay their fair share. Even Michelle Obama last night said she was suspicious of folks who took more money than they need.
You see, my mom, in her steady, quiet way, lived out that striving sense of hope every single day of her life. She believed that all children, all people have value.
Not the 25 that were aborted outside the DNC in a van.
That anyone can succeed if given the opportunity.
Sounds like CRT disguised.
She and my father didn't aspire to be wealthy. In fact, they were suspicious of folks who took more than they needed.
Oh, you're suspicious of folks who took more than they needed. Okay, let's go through it. You got 3 houses, Michelle. You got 3 houses. Martha's Vineyard, D.C. You got a net worth of $160 million. Out of the speakers last night, Governor J.B. Pritzker, he inherited his net worth around $3.6 billion. Doug Emhoff, Doug Harris, however you want to call him, the first husband, he's worth about $10 million. Jack Schlossberg, the son of Carolyn Kennedy, he spoke. He's going to inherit around $100 million. Should we really be suspicious? You're pointing the finger at your own party. It's a clown show last night. It's an absolute clown show. Barack got up there afterwards, and he did his thing, as everyone expected him to do. He paid lip service to Joe Biden.
We'll remember Joe Biden as an outstanding president who defended democracy at a moment of great danger.
Oh, yeah. He's outstanding, so outstanding, in fact, that the Obamas coordinated a coup to get rid of Joe, to get rid of him. What a joke.
The torch has been passed.
The torch has been passed. Yep.
Now it is up to all of us to fight for the America we believe in. And make no mistake, it will be a fight. For all the incredible energy we've been able to generate over the last few weeks, for all the rallies and the memes, this will still be a tight race in a closely divided country.
I mean, I agree. It's going to be a tight race. I agree. He did say one thing last night that was wild. He made a joke that the left is really hanging on to.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes.
And he does a hand gesture, and a lot of people saying he's making a joke about Donald Trump's size down below the waist. Oh, this weird obsession with crowd sizes. And I just think it's important to point out, if you have a crowded restaurant, does that mean it's successful? Well, yeah. I think it would. You know, you look at Hattie B's downtown, they got a line around the corner. I don't ever look at Hattie B's and think, oh, they're not successful. You look at an NFL stadium, right? Let's look at the Patriots under Tom Brady packing the stadium every single week, and then you look at, you know, the years of the Cleveland Browns being able to fill the stadium. Which one would you think is successful? So, like, these guys just lie, and they're at war with actual common sense constantly. And he hides behind a quip. He hides behind a joke. And the Democrats, they can't fill their events, and they have to bring rappers to do it. This weird obsession with crowd sizes. Well, then why are you paying influencers to show up to your events if you're not obsessed about it? Why are you acting like a large crowd doesn't mean that you're successful? If people want to go see you, it's because people are behind you and they support you. So you can make the joke, But the fact remains, actually, a crowd size does mean you're successful, Barack. After Ken Weaver's newscast, we're going to check in with Savannah Hernandez, who is on the ground at the DNC and at the Milwaukee rally with Kamala Harris. And we're going to talk about crowd size and the unification of the DNC. It's 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes. And right now, some money news for Middle Tennessee showing the rent keeps going up. News 2 citing a rental report from Zumper showing Franklin, Nashville, Spring Hill, Murfreesboro, and Gallatin have all seen rates for one-bedroom apartments go over the state median in the last month. Rent going up in Clarksville, too. But this report says you can still get a one-bedroom apartment in Clarksville for $970 a month. Cookeville coming in with the least expensive median rent at $800 per month for a one-bedroom apartment. By the way, Tennessee's median rent for a one-bedroom apartment was $1,181 last month, according to Zumper. Election 2024, former President Trump speaks on national security today in Asheboro, North Carolina. J.D. Vance at a fundraiser in Omaha. Independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. considering dropping out of the race and endorsing Trump. Tonight at the Democratic National Convention, former President Bill Clinton, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg will deliver remarks, as will the vice presidential contender, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
10:36 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Chuck Schumer, Senate Majority Leader, he's actually on record, this guy, claiming that this year's Democrat National Convention has been the most unified DNC ever. The most unified DNC ever. It's easy to debunk these lies in real time, and we're joined now by investigative journalist Savannah Hernandez, Frontlines reporter for Turning Point USA, who's been on the ground covering the most unified DNC ever. So I got to ask you, Savannah, do you feel the unification?
I feel the unification. I feel the joy, and it looks like 1,000 police officers and protesters fighting with them in the streets.
I mean, you've been everywhere. You've been covering protests outside the United Center, and then last night you were in Milwaukee for the Harris rally. Give me a quick rundown on what you've seen and what your take has been on the ground.
Sure. So day one, I got here, and that was, well, day one for me was Sunday, but there were already protests going on. So as soon as I land, I book it to Millennium Park, where there's a gigantic protest going on. You have the streets shut down, and you have people that are protesting for both abortion rights and to free Palestine. I don't know how those two things intertwine, but, you know, apparently without feminism, we can't free Palestine. So that was day one. That was a mess. Then you go to day two, which is actually day one of the DNC, but day two were protests. And not only was the main event itself so disorganized that you had a line of people waiting out the door for an hour. I don't understand what's going on, but I'm hearing so many complaints, not only from DNC attendees, but also press members, about how disorganized the actual event is.
I want to sink into that for a second, because you went to the RNC as well, and you're at the DNC. I've heard from a lot of members of the press that it's hard to get in there. What's been the difference between the two?
Yeah, so again, the difference is that, one, the RNC was way more organized. Two, there weren't these gigantic protests. So the reason why I was mentioning how disorganized this is and how there's a huge line of people, of DNC attendees outside waiting, is because the protesters are just a block away. And on day one, if those protesters were able to truly break through the double barricades. They did break through one of them. I was right there as they started removing the fencing. If they broke through that second one and they were able to overtake the police, which they very easily could have because they had the numbers for, it would have been a really, really bad time for the DNC attendees, because they were all standing outside waiting for hours to get into the DNC. And again, it's just been extremely disorganized. I was actually talking to another member of the press yesterday who was in the DNC, and he was telling me that apparently the Democrats invited way too many influencers, and that is why it's so chaotic and there's no room for the real press.
Of course. It's all about the paid influencers. I saw the video that you posted when they were breaking down the fence, and I got to tell you, you have just like, you're the bravest woman I know. You're not very tall, and you're surrounded by these protesters. Your back is up against one of these barricades. What is going through your mind when you're surrounded by this chaos? You know, the chaos that they say is really Donald Trump's fault, but is actually their own party.
Yeah, the thing that is running through my mind is, please, God, I do not want to get maced or tear gas today. That is really the genuine thought that I have. And then also there is a little bit of fear and nervousness, because a lot of the people in these crowds, they are very violent. A lot of them were calling for Killer Kamala, as they nicknamed her, to come out and face them, because they were extremely upset about her and Genocidal Joe. Again, these are all of their words. They have been calling to shut down the DNC. They have been chanting that they are going to be bringing the war home, because they are so upset with how the Democrat Party has been handling things abroad. So again, this technically, or typically, would be the biggest base for the Democrats, right? These are the same people we saw back in 2020 that were pushing for BLM. This is really a very prime portion of their base that has completely turned on them, is trying to physically break down barriers. And tonight and tomorrow are supposed to be those big protests that are supposed to get even more violent. And again, these protests are named Shut Down the DNC. So I only foresee this continuing to get crazier and crazier as we inch closer to Kamala giving her commencement speech.
That's wild. And so they're calling for Kamala to come outside, but Kamala actually left the city completely. She went to Milwaukee to hold a rally, which is, it feels awkward to me that she would leave her own coronation ceremony to go to Milwaukee, but then you followed her there. What was the vibe like on the ground in Milwaukee at that rally?
So in Milwaukee, there definitely was a lot of energy for her. She was able to fill that arena. She was in the same arena that they did hold the RNC in. She was able to fill it. And so the interesting thing, Chris, because I do think, again, not that there's energy behind Kamala, but that there's energy from the Democrat Party. They're very well funded. They're good at somewhat being organized and bringing people in. She still did get protested at her rally last night as well. You had those Palestinian protesters that waited to get into her rally and were trying to disrupt her as she was speaking. So that happened. And then, you take a peek at Chicago, and then you have even more protests going on. And last night's protest did result in multiple arrests. They were getting pretty violent. And again, that is only going to be happening in even greater numbers tonight and tomorrow.
Do you anticipate it getting like almost Summer of Love-esque, or do you think it's not going to reach that point?
I don't think it's going to reach that point because they actually have police officers in the city. Now, Chris, this is going to be very shocking to the audience, but we have, surrounding the DNC, a very racist border wall, okay?
Oh, geez.
We also have ID check, also very racist. And this is the cherry on top of the cake, okay? We have police officers with guns protecting all of the Democrats, all right?
It's so a trifecta.
These are only... I know. It's like, wow, these are typically the racist tactics that would be deployed by Republicans to, maybe maintain a country or keep it safe. And it's all the things that they speak against, but this is exactly what they've utilized. Thousands of police officers, the same police officers that they call to defund, the same police officers that they say Chicago residents don't need because we just need, community policing. We don't need guns. We just need to live in this happy la la land. But when they come to Chicago, they are protected to the nines. So I don't think it's going to get as crazy as it did in 2020. I actually think that they let people loot and riot in 2020 because Donald Trump was in office, and it did make him, they were trying to make him look bad.
Yeah.
But now that it's the DNC, they cannot make their own party look bad. They can't get overrun by their own creation and their own monster, which again are these protesters. So the police have been cracking down. Typically with Antifa, the police, they don't really get as aggressive with them I've seen previously, and they are making arrests. They are shutting things down fairly quickly, and they are on top of things.
There was a lot of talk about maybe a possible blue flu where Chicago PD were going to be calling out because they didn't really want to get involved in all this, calling in sick. Have you noticed if there's a lack of numbers for the Chicago PD? Do you feel like they're in a good shape to deal with the protesters, or are you kind of nervous for them?
No, they are definitely in big numbers here. This is the most amount of police officers I have ever seen. And yesterday they had, it looked like what was a 5-row thick wall of police officers blocking these protesters into the street, essentially, so they couldn't continue to, wreak havoc. So they not only have Chicago PD here, they also have National Guard. They've also deputized various other police officers from throughout the state, and they brought people in from other states. So they're very well manned here. And again, I hope the average American is looking at this and taking away, hey, so we can have law and order, we can have safe cities, but it really is the Democrats who pick and choose when that is. And this week it's only because of the DNC.
Yeah, it's wild. There's a clip going around from Benny Johnson where he's interviewing Southsiders in Chicago, asking, what have the Obamas done for you? And they essentially say, well, nothing. And they like Trump. Do you get that kind of sense from Chicago residents? What's the vibe? Like, I know you're kind of in the weeds in the DNC, but have you gotten any vibe from actual Chicago residents since you've been there and what the feeling is on the ground about the Democrats?
Unfortunately, I haven't gone and talked to as many Chicago residents as I would have liked to, just because I have been covering the protests, the rallies, and then, of course, I have been trying to wait outside of that main entrance of the DNC to confront some of the bigger names. I got Don Lemon the other day. That was a lot of fun.
Yes.
So because of that, I haven't been able to talk to residents as I typically would, sadly.
So you rolled up on Don Lemon and lay the groundwork for what you did there, because you confronted Don Lemon, and I think that he was actually pretty shocked, A, that somebody recognized who he was, and B, that you had the audacity to ask him an honest question.
Yeah, so Don Lemon was rolling through the, main entrance to the DNC, and I was like, I really want to keep with this theme, and I kind of just want to make it my thing, right? To confront these same media members who lied to the American people for years. So if your viewers recall, during the RNC, I was able to confront Kristen Welker of MSNBC and then the entire CNN team and ask them why they've been lying to the American public about Joe Biden, his mental decline, about the state of the country. And so I ran into Don Lemon and I essentially asked him the same thing. But because Don loves to talk about democracy, I said, hey, Kamala wasn't democratically elected. What do you think about that? And of course, he refused to respond. Funny enough, he said he didn't want to give his opinion because he was a member of the press, to which I responded, sir, you gave your opinion a lot on CNN. It's so funny you don't want to give it now.
These guys just want to run away from any statement because they don't want to look foolish, and it's like that time has passed. You already do look pretty foolish.
Exactly. And so, this entire event has been crazy. It's been very great for content, right? Because you have the protests, you have the confrontations angle. I was also in front of the Planned Parenthood abortion truck yesterday, watching as patients walked in and out because abortion is another central topic of the DNC. So there's been so much going on, and I've been trying to keep up as much as possible. And, I think that America is rightly just roasting the DNC right now because it's unorganized, it's chaotic, it's crazy, and they're celebrating abortion while getting protested. It's a mess, Chris.
That has to be one of the most disgusting aspects of the entire thing. There's reports that there have been 25 abortions because of that truck outside the DNC. There used to be a time when the Democrats wanted it safe, rare, and legal. And now it's like, no, we want it whenever you want it, by any means necessary. Is there anyone counter-protesting that abortion ban out there, or is it just kind of a free-for-all?
No, there were definitely counter-protesters there. And the funny thing about the counter-protesters is they're progressives. They're progressives against abortion. And they were actually protesting the big rally on Sunday, and they were saying trans rights start in the womb. Queer rights start in the womb. The LGBTQ rights start in the womb. So they're progressive, but they also hate abortion, and it's actually kind of hilarious because they're using the left's own tactics against them because they are leftists, I guess. It's very confusing, Chris, but basically they're saying, hey, if you care so much about gay people, why are you advocating for them to get killed in the womb?
My brain hurts actually trying to comprehend that. I don't understand that. All right, Savannah Hernandez is down on the ground at the DNC. She was in Milwaukee last night for the Kamala Harris rally. She's putting herself through this stuff so you don't have to. Sav, where can we find your content? Because it's been on fire. Where can people follow you? Where can people keep up with you while you're at the DNC?
Go follow me on X at Sav_says_, and then Frontlines TPUSA. We have an account on X as well where you can keep up with all of our reporting.
Savannah Hernandez, thank you for joining the show. I definitely want to check in with you again as the week progresses and things get a little bit crazier. Stay safe out there, okay?
Thanks, Chris.
Hey, appreciate you. Savannah Hernandez from Turning Point USA, Frontlines reporter. She's a beast. She's 5'0", and she's out there surrounded by just radicals and protesters and covering these protests. She's got nerves of steel. It's not a situation I would want to put myself in. And Sav is out there in the line of fire. So definitely go find her at Sav_says on Twitter. And you can see the content where she confronts Don Lemon. You can see the video where the protesters are tearing down the barricades at the DNC. And as she said, things are going to get crazier tonight and tomorrow night. And she's going to be in the middle of it. So definitely worth a follow, Savannah Hernandez. On the way, we are going to be giving away tickets for Armored MMA. If you are inside one of these protests, you would wish that you had some of the armor that these guys have at Armored MMA. We'll give away a pair of those tickets after the break. It's 10:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, we've got a couple of crashes now blocking the way here in Nashville. 40 westbound at 65 west. The left lane is blocked. And then near B&A, we've got Briley Parkway at Cock Boulevard. Got a crash there. That's right there at Karen Drive. Trump's first outdoor rally since the attempt on his life. Details coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. 10:58 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Get ready. We're giving away those armored MMA tickets in minutes. But first, Sean, who is a retired Chicago police officer. Got about a minute, Sean. What are you thinking about these Chicago protests?
Hey, Chris, I know you're busy. I hope Savannah is right that it's not going to get much worse, but it's typical up there. The officers are out there without the right equipment. We've already had officers injured. As far as the blue flu, 1,500 called in sick in 1 week. Back in 2012 when they had the NATO and G8 that they ended up moving to Camp David, we saw the same stuff. I was in the gang unit at the time. There was little skirmishes that started off and still up in Michigan and Cermak, and we had a full-out confrontation there. I unfortunately think the same thing's going to happen. You've got these little test things that they're doing to see how CPD responds and to kind of get an idea of what their game plan is, and there will be a major confrontation before the end of the week.
Hey, pray for those officers, right, Sean?
Absolutely. I mean, when Cermak and Michigan went up, we lost 38 to 40 with injuries immediately. I mean, I ended up in the emergency room getting my hand x-rayed. It wasn't broken. I took the wrap off and went right back out. But, I keep in touch with the guys I worked with and worked for me. We've already got intel on the Black Bloc and anarchists being there and where they're kind of camped out. They're under surveillance right now.
Hey, I appreciate the insight, Sean. I really do, man. Call back anytime. It's 10:59 on Super Talk. And if you want those armored MMA tickets, be caller 9 right now, 615-737-9986. Caller 9 at 615-737-9986. It's 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got some crashes need to tell you about. First, the West Loop. Looks like westbound 40, blocked there at 65. Left lane blocked by a crash. And then, of course, Briley Parkway at Karen Drive over by B&A. Election 2024. Today in North Carolina, former President Trump holds his first outdoor rally since the attempt on his life in Pennsylvania last month. Catherine Folder says Trump's podium will look different. Bulletproof glass.
This measure, obviously, is typically reserved for sitting presidents. The Secret Service made an exception, obviously, for former President Trump in the wake of that assassination attempt. It's part of their broader effort to boost security at these events. And frankly, they would not let Trump do a rally unless he had this measure in place.
Trump's going to speak on national security today in Asheboro, North Carolina. Karen Travers is in Chicago.
Tonight's theme at the DNC is a fight for our freedoms. Former President Bill Clinton, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg will deliver remarks. But the spotlight tonight will be on VP contender Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. During his speech tonight, he'll introduce himself to Americans, share his story, his first big chance to do so on a national stage.
And here in the volunteer state, Middle Tennessee school districts keep getting more students, so they're building more schools. In Nashville, Channel 4 says Metro Council approved plans for a new elementary school in Antioch. It's going to be on Bell Road and be able to hold 800 students when it's completed in about 2 years. In Wilson County, News 2 says county commissioners Monday night approved a bond request for a new elementary school to be located along Central Pike, south of I-40. Commissioner said they've opened 4 new schools in the past 5 years in Wilson County. 2 of those were storm-related. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
11:05 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Shout out to Cody from Franklin. He's the winner of those armored MMA tickets. If you wanted to win some tickets, Murphy will have some for you on the way too. Murphy giving away other people's stuff. He's got cool branding around it. We just want to supply you with the goods. So shout out to Cody and Franklin. Congratulations. We'll have more of the armored MMA tickets tomorrow. I do declare. So hang out with us. We'll do it around the same exact time. We've been talking about the RNC, the DNC. It's been a lot sloppier than the RNC. You know, Barack Obama doing his thing and giving his speeches. That's, you know, what we expected. A lot of lies, a lot of bloviating, a lot of orange man bad. That's what we got from Barack Obama last night.
Knows it's easier to play on people's fears and cynicism. Always has been. They will tell you that government is inherently corrupt, that sacrifice and generosity are for suckers.
He's one to talk, right? Barack Obama. The other side will play on people's fears and cynicism. It's like, yeah, aren't you guys doing exactly that? I mean, they're saying that we're going to have a nationwide abortion ban, even though Trump is on record saying he just wants to give it back to the states, playing on people's fear. They've been saying, the government's inherently corrupt. Okay, well, the government has literally been weaponized against Donald Trump and peaceful J6 protesters who had the audacity to walk inside the Capitol on January 6th and do something like pray. Unbelievable. They'll tell you the government's corrupt. We don't have to. We know the government's corrupt. The government lies to us constantly. And the 818,000 jobs that the Biden-Harris White House have claimed they created, we're finding out today it doesn't even exist.
You know, the range of how many jobs they would take away for a variety of reasons, maybe the largest is the birth-death model for businesses, was going to be somewhere between 350,000 and 1 million. It comes in at 818,000.
They've revised the job numbers that the Biden-Harris White House claimed to have created down by 818,000. This is the Democrat Party. It's the largest downward revision in jobs in 15 years. All the job growth has actually gone to illegals and immigrants. So Trump was right. Trump, mark it down. We got another one. Trump was right. Barack Obama last night. Oh, they'll lie to you. They'll play on your fears. They will. Yeah. Obama also said he brought up the border last night, and I'll just let you listen to what he said.
We can secure our borders without tearing kids away from their parents.
Oh, can we? Oh. Remember the amount of missing children from the southern border under Biden-Harris? The number was 32,000 yesterday. The total number of missing kids under Biden-Harris, illegal alien kids, 291,000 children may be unaccounted for under the Biden-Harris administration. Who is the border czar? Who's the border czar? Oh, we can keep these kids safe without ripping them away from their parents. It's like, yeah, but they were separated because we don't know if they're their parents. And then these kids are sold into sex slavery. It's disgusting. Some 291,000 illegal immigrant children may be unaccounted for under the Biden-Harris administration after the unaccompanied minors crossed the border. The concern is that after they crossed the border, they were not properly processed by the combination of agencies that are meant to track them through court dates and scheduled appearances. Many such children, such as 90,000 who crossed in 2021, have yet to be given a court date. This information comes in a report entitled Management Alert. ICE cannot monitor all unaccompanied migrant children released from DHS. Some of these kids are coming through, and we've covered this ad nauseum. I mean, they'll have, phone numbers written on them. Oh, I got somebody waiting on the other side. And then they're sent essentially into human trafficking networks. It's awful. And this is happening under Biden-Harris. It's all happening under Biden-Harris. It'll all continue under Harris. And Obama gets up there and he whispers those sweet nothings into your ear. But he doesn't address any of the problems over the last 3.5 years. He doesn't address the inflation. He doesn't address the wars. He doesn't address the Afghanistan withdrawal, the Taliban parading around with our military equipment. He doesn't address the collapsing public school system and the test scores. He doesn't address the fentanyl deaths that are in the hundreds of thousands. He doesn't address the censorship by the government. He doesn't address the weaponized government. He doesn't address the poverty, the national decline. He doesn't address any of that. He just says orange man bad. And the vote blue no matter who crowd, they love it. They eat it up. They eat it up. But the citizens in Chicago, the citizens on the south side of Chicago, well, they know what's really going on. And Benny Johnson was down there interviewing people on the south side of Chicago, asking them what they think about Barack Obama and who they're rooting for when it comes to Kamala versus Trump.
I'm a Trump supporter, man. We gonna keep this going. Trump, he a real businessman. I'm a real Republican, man. I want Trump back in office second term.
This is on the south side of Chicago.
What would be your message to Barack Obama?
I don't know, pump some money in here. Pump some money like Trump, you know?
Your message to Donald Trump?
Come on, man, get us to the Super Bowl, bro. Make America great, man. That's all I can say. Make America great.
Everyone's so friendly around here.
Yeah.
Everyone's so friendly around here.
Yeah. Everybody down there understands what's going on, and everybody understands that they were better off under Trump for a myriad of different reasons. A ton of different reasons. It's wild. It's wild. But it's not.
Let's get it going immediately, man. Benny, who you going for, Benny?
My president is making America great again, Donald Trump.
I'm going with Trump, too. We got it. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, man.
That's Benny Johnson down on the south side of Chicago. It's wild to see because it happens so often. So often. On the flip side, Trump is out campaigning, right? While the DNC is happening, Trump sits down for an interview with Theo Vaughn on this past weekend, which is a popular podcast among Gen Zers, millennials. It was released 15 hours ago, and it's had almost 4.5 million views. He's reaching across the aisle. This same podcast had Bernie Sanders on a week ago. Trump is also campaigning. Trump was in Howell, Michigan, and the Howell, Michigan, it's crazy. Yesterday, the moderator of the ABC debate, Lindsay, what's her name? It's, I'm drawing a blank. It's Lindsay Davis. Lindsay Davis. She's moderating the September 10th ABC debate. And she's sitting down with Gretchen Whitmer on ABC. And they say that the fact that Trump is going to Howell, it's really problematic because you know who else was in Howell, Michigan? Was the KKK.
Former President Donald Trump is expected to go campaign in Howell, Michigan tomorrow. Many people are aware that a month ago in Howell, KKK protesters marched in the streets with the white robes on and suggested that they support Donald Trump. I'm curious if you make anything about that connection and him going in particular to Howell tomorrow.
Oh, Trump is going to Howell. Do you know that KKK members were in Howell? This must mean that Trump is with the KKK, right? Gretchen Whitmer, your thoughts?
Well, you know, anyone who's doing a little bit of research might have said that's really a bad idea. Look at the optics. You're showing up where the KKK was just at the same time you're in Michigan. I mean, this is I think a troubling strategy that we see from the other side to divide us and to scare us and to stoke fear and anger.
Oh, yeah. Gretchen Whitmer, you happen to be the governor of Michigan, a state where the KKK is marching. That must mean that you support the KKK. Your thoughts? Like, it's just a setup question. It's a joke of a question. And this is going to be who's moderating the debate on ABC on September 10th between Trump and Kamala. Trump actually responded to this yesterday in Howell, Michigan. He responded to the KKK comments in a savage way.
Thank you for coming. Kamala Harris campaign is asking you to be in
So she said, you're campaigning in this town. Kamala Harris and the campaign are saying you're here because the KKK was here. Your thoughts?
Who was here in 2021?
Joe Biden.
He says, who is here in 2021? The reporter says, Joe Biden. Joe Biden was here in 2021.
Who was here in 2021?
Joe Biden.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
What an absolute savage. He just, what does that have to do with anything? What is that? So does Joe Biden support the KKK? He's eulogized them before. So maybe. Trump had a lot more to say in Howell, Michigan. Trump is actually campaigning and reaching across the aisle and trying to talk to the American people. And Kamala Harris is just more concerned about galvanizing the base. It's the most unified DNC ever, but they have to galvanize the base because the radical elements of the left don't really vibe with her at all because of her Israel-Palestine, I don't know how you put it, the Israel-Palestine stance. She plays both sides of the fence. Nobody really likes it. But Trump is out there in Howell, Michigan, campaigning because obviously he's got a KKK member, right? But he was asked about his reaction to suburban women not liking him. This has been a big thing. Suburban women don't like Trump. They don't like Trump. And he was asked about it.
When I return to the White House, we will stop the plunder, rape, slaughter, and destruction of our American suburbs, our cities and towns. And I think that women living in the suburbs, I keep hearing about the suburban woman doesn't like Trump. Well, I think it's a fake poll because why would they like me? I keep the suburbs safe. I stopped low-income towers from rising right alongside of their house, and I'm keeping the illegal aliens away from the suburbs. I think that they like me a lot. I think it's a lot of fake polls. We've seen a lot of fake polls over the years. I was not supposed to win anything, and we won the big one. We won it and did a lot better the second time than we did the first.
Yeah, they did. He got more votes in 2020 than he did in 2016. Weird how that worked out. I think we all know how that worked out. But he goes on to say, women want safety, and under a Biden-Harris regime, under a Harris-Walz regime, that is out the window.
Women want to have safety. They want to have a strong military. They want to have a strong police force. They want to be in their house and they want to be safe. They don't want to have people pouring into their doors and you can't do anything about it, right? So I think that's the number one thing. I hope they like my personality. I have a nice personality, but to me, it wouldn't be very important. The personality. They want to be safe.
Yeah, a lot of people feel this way. Listen, the personality is almost it's secondary at this point when you look at what's happening to this country. It has to be, right? Businesses are closing, wages are down, prices are up, the border's wide open. The personality has to be secondary. There was an Iowa voter, this was on CNN, and this woman is saying, she didn't want to vote for Trump at all. But that's because of his personality. But when you look left and you look right and you see what's happening in this country, you're left with almost no option.
That Sarkone plans to vote for Trump is a big change. She backed Haley in the caucuses, and when we first met a year ago,
what about Browning Carmel?
Sarkone said she would vote for Biden if 2024 ended up as a 2020 rematch. But grocery prices are still high, she says, and her real estate business is slow.
I would describe myself as being resigned, I suppose, to voting for Donald Trump. Again, I can't vote for the status quo. And I was absolutely better off during Donald Trump's presidency than I am today.
Right, I say Kamala Harris, you say?
I'd say far left. I'd say woke. I'd say sidestepping. I'd say not truthful.
Far left, woke, sidestepping, not truthful. You got no other choice but to vote for Trump. And they made this big stance at the DNC. We're not going back. We can't go back. It's like, go back to what? You guys have been in power. The DNC has been all like this defensive stance, like Trump is in power right now. But they're ignoring the fact that Americans understand you have the power right now. And you're promising to change things for the future. Okay, I mean, that plan might work, but American voters are like...
You've always had the power.
Yeah, you have. You've always had the power. J.D. Vance has also been out campaigning, and he had a savage takedown of Tim Walz. Savage. Absolute madman. I'll play that for you after the break. It's 11:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Real quick, I do have to tell you about my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. You know the guys at Busy Bee. Hardworking guys, great guys. They've been to my home. I trust them. And when it's time to get your system serviced the best way, there's only one way. It's the Busy Bee way with Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Now, when you're getting your system serviced, remember to sign up for the Beehive Club membership, because that's like an all-in-one encompassing thing. It's only $99, and you get 3 annual tune-ups, 1 for your heating, 1 for your cooling, 1 for your plumbing. You get a 10% discount on repairs if you need something fixed. If you need to call them in the dead of night or on the weekend, you get priority front-of-the-line service. You get a $100 annual accrued replacement credit with a maximum of $1,000. No overtime or holiday fees and exclusive Beehive member promotions. All that value comes with the $99 Beehive Club membership. It'll pay for itself. And now through the end of August, when you buy one, you get one for their back-to-school special, and you get to give that buy one, get one to a coach, teacher, faculty, or staff member at your kid's school. It's a great deal. Some kids bring apples. You get to bring a Beehive Club membership. This is the way to go. Busy Bee's your Rude Pro partner. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. 615-775-7833. That's 615-775-7833. Online at busybeehvac.com.
All right, still got that crash on the West Loop downtown going westbound. There at 65 West. The left shoulder is blocked there, 40 westbound on the West Loop. Added security by the Secret Service for former President Trump's first outdoor rally since Butler, Pennsylvania. Details at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. It's 11:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. J.D. Vance has also been on the campaign trail. I said yesterday he had a savage takedown of Tim Walz. Savage. Just an absolute beast. He was asked about debate prep and how he's planning to debate and getting ready to debate Tim Walz. Take a listen. This This is Prime Vance.
I'd like to know how you were prepping for a debate with Tim Walz, who has described himself as a bad debater. Who's helping you, and how are you prepping?
Well, I found a good friend from back home who embellishes and lies a lot, and I'm having him stand in for Tim Walz. That's what we're doing during our debate. But look, what all kidding aside, what we're going to do is we're going to focus a lot on policy, right? The way that I'm trying to prepare is to try to make sure that we're prepared to answer the American people's questions on how we're going to make their lives better, how we're going to make their communities safer, how we're going to bring back prosperity and low prices to the American economy.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you focus on policy. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are running away from policy. They don't want to talk about it, but the line of the day.
Well, I found a good friend from back home who embellishes and lies a lot, and I'm having him stand in for Tim Walz. That's what we're doing during our debate.
I mean, but he's just an absolute animal for that. And this comes on the heels of yet another scandal when it comes to Tim Walz. We had stolen valor, right? We've had the scandal of the tampons in the boys' bathroom, but the latest lie, the latest scandal. Tim Walz has been doing a lot to make it seem like his wife got IVF treatments. Tim Walz's wife admitted they never used IVF, despite him claiming they did. I mean, Tim Walz has been quoted as saying, "Thank God for IVF. My wife and I have 2 beautiful children." That's what he said. But now his wife, Gwen, is revealing to CNN in her own words that this isn't true. Walz used his own family's story of struggling with infertility as a political talking point to back his views on the reproduction industry, including abortion access. This is Tim Walz. If he'll lie about small things, he'll lie about big things. Everything about this guy seems fake. And the Post Millennial has a story. Gwen Walz said that the couple used intrauterine insemination, not IVF. Not IVF. So IVF involves external fertilization of an egg, which is then implanted. Intrauterine insemination involves placement of... there's a lot of details. I don't know if I should read it all in the air. You get it. But she's quoted in a CNN article saying, "Like so many who have experienced these challenges, we kept it largely to ourselves at the time, not even sharing the details with our wonderful and close family. The only person who knew in detail what we were going through was our next-door neighbor. She was a nurse and helped me with the shots I needed as part of the IUI process. I'd rush home from school, and she would give me the shots to ensure we stayed on track." It might seem like a small lie, but if you're willing to make a small lie, you're willing to make a big lie. 2 weeks ago in Philadelphia, Walz was talking about IVF, and he said, "This is personal for me and my family."
Look, that includes IVF, and this gets personal for me and my family. When my wife and I decided to have children, we spent years going through infertility treatments, and I remember praying every night for a call for good news.
Listen, I'm not knocking the guy for dealing with infertility. I'm knocking him for absolutely lying to the American people. And this is after he lied about his military career. He lied about the drunk driving arrest. The lie after lie after lie with this guy. And this is who you choose. Jack Posobiec actually confronted Eric Holder last night at the DNC. Eric Holder was the guy in charge of vetting Tim Walz. He was the guy that was supposed to make sure everything was on the up and up. Jack Posobiec found him at the DNC and said, "Why didn't you vet Walz for stolen valor?" And do you know what Eric Holder did? Eric Holder ran away. He ran away. When Jack Posobiec caught up with him, he asked him again. Eric Holder said, "F you." Oh, mister, when they go low, we kick them. Classic. What an absolute loser. He should hang his head in shame. But I don't think they vetted Walz on at all, clearly. Or maybe they did, and they just didn't care. That wouldn't surprise me either. It's 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and now we got another problem on the loop around downtown. This is going to be the South Loop westbound at Broadway. A crash is blocking the left lane. Bulletproof glass will surround the podium for former President Trump's campaign rally today in North Carolina, where he's going to talk about national security. This added security is from the Secret Service, and today is Trump's first outdoor rally since the assassination attempt in Butler, PA. In Chicago, former President Bill Clinton and Vice Presidential nominee Tim Walz are among tonight's speakers at the Democratic National Convention. And here in Nashville, we've learned the identity of the person murdered in the backyard of a short-term rental in Donaldson this week. Channel 4 says Xavier Johnson of Clarksville, a 20-year-old man, was lured to the property, then ambushed and killed. The search is on for a man and a woman. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN 1131. My name is Chris and I got to tell you about my friends at the Glock store. We talk about the Glock store a lot. If you need a Glock, it's the best place to go. They got every Glock in stock. If you want to train, well, do it in a private shooting room with an instructor, and the only place where you can do that is at the Glock store. They don't have lane ranges. They have private shooting rooms. Now, it's also the best place to party. Yes, you heard me right. If you're looking for a retirement party, a birthday party, maybe a bachelor or bachelorette party, whatever kind of party or celebration you're throwing, you should do it at the Glock store. There ain't no party like a Glock store party. The Glock store is the perfect place for all sorts of celebrations, and the parties include a VIP room with a full kitchen, dedicated shooting rooms with the instructors, shooting activities designed for every level, and they'll even include all the ammo, and they'll let you try some full auto options. That sounds like a party. To get your party started, all you got to do is email these guys. Party@glockstore.com is the email address. That's party@glockstore.com. You include the day, the time, how many people you want to bring, and then they'll get right back to you with an awesome party plan tailored to your needs. It's the Glock store, my place to shoot, everyone's place to party. Minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere.
in all these speeches, as good as they were, is that she's in the White House right now. Democrats have controlled the White House for 12 of the last 16 years. And for all of the talk about division and the problems in the country and people are hurting, Democrats have mostly controlled this country.
That's Scott Jennings exposing some truth last night on CNN post the DNC. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name's Chris Hand, 1137. Scott Jennings, man. He's a gift to the CNN audience because he just tells it like it is.
Trump had it for 4. The Obamas and Biden had it for the rest of the time. And somehow, it's still all Trump's fault. And somehow, she hasn't been at the center of it. So to me, that's still the glaring hole in this campaign that hasn't yet been solved at the convention. How do you explain all of the problems that will be solved by the person who is currently in there for the last 3.5 years, who is supposed to already be working on solving it? But
how do you explain that? How do you explain that? I mean, because at the end of the day, Kamala,
You've always had the power.
You're still in office. You're in power now. Day one is five months away. That day one is a long way away. But that's the instant reaction from Republicans after night 2 of the DNC. Night three, man. It's feeling like the longest convention ever. Night 3, we got a decent lineup. We're gonna have House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi's gonna be speaking. Governor Wes Moore out of Maryland. Wes Moore out of Maryland is going to be one to watch because a lot of people thought that he could be the candidate after Joe was forced to step aside via the coup. This could be one of those moments for him like Obama had back in the day before he became the leader of the party. A lot of people think that Wes Moore has it. Josh Shapiro is speaking tonight. He's also looking for that moment. And you got Cory Booker, Senator Chris Murphy, Senator Amy Klobuchar, and Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton. Why? The guy that's all over the Epstein documents. Bill Clinton. I guess. Go back to the well, right? And of course, Pete Buttigieg will be speaking. Transportation Secretary who was on maternity leave during the train disaster in East Palestine, Ohio. And then we'll have Governor Tim Walz accepting the nomination. Are you looking forward to night 3 of the DNC? I'm not. I'm going to have to sit through it and grit my teeth and bear it. It's an occupational hazard. We'll bring you all the highlights tomorrow. But if it's anything like last night was, it's just going to be more lies, more gaslighting for the American people. And Britt Hume said it last night. Britt Hume on Fox News. He said, it's just rich people talking about hope. That's what we had.
Back when her husband first was on the cusp of winning his party's nomination, it was the first time in her life that she had felt hope because of what he brought and what he was bringing. And here she is again tonight saying, at last again, I can't imagine why somebody who has had the life she's had, a product of Princeton and Harvard Law School, an elite law firm, the First Lady of the United States, with a magnificent house on Martha's Vineyard worth about $12 million and another one going up in Hawaii, why it is that she's so hopeless all the time and has to have her hope revived by the goings-on in the Democratic Party.
I mean, seriously. That's what we had last night. That's what we had. And what's his face? Al Sharpton. He was on MSNBC, and he said he's talking about the darkness that they've experienced. You know, just being Democrat in this country, the darkness. Oh, the darkness. But you've been in power for the last 3.5 years, Al.
We're coming out of this darkness that Donald Trump has put us in.
But that was 3.5 years ago, Al. You've had 3.5 years to come out of the darkness. Greg Gutfeld ripping him apart for that.
Donald Trump put you in darkness? He's not president, you jackass. They are. The darkness you've experienced comes from having your head fully up your ass. If anything, Trump dragged you out into the sunshine.
Yeah, Trump dragged you out into the sunshine. Kicking and screaming, mind you. Kicking and screaming. Charles Payne was also on Gutfeld last night, and he just nailed it when talking about night 2 of the DNC.
Is that they have to convince America that Trump is in office and Joe and Kamala isn't. So they act like when Obama tonight said, we can't have another 4 years.
Right.
What's he talking about?
So Harris is running against 2 Democratic platforms. The current administration and the Democrats that started slavery, started the Ku Klux Klan, because they keep saying they're not going to take us back. Take us back to your policies. What the hell are you talking about? Right? You were the one who did this. So we're in a bizarro world.
Yeah.
I just never knew. I mean, everything is so crazy and nuts, and the media keeps telling us, hey, joy. It's like Ren and Stimpy. Happy, happy, joy, joy. Like, it's like, you remember that one episode where Ren and Stimpy's there, his brain came out, and his cousin was there. He said, what's that? He said, it's my brain. He said, it's so big. It's like, this is nuts where we are right now. I'm telling you right now. I can't even believe it. I can't believe it.
No, I can't believe it either. And Chuck Schumer gets out there and says, it's the most unified DNC we've ever had. The most unified, while thousands upon thousands of protesters are crashing the gates, and they're not Republican protesters, they're radical leftists. We had Savannah Hernandez on the show earlier breaking down what those protests look like as she's in the middle of them, reporting on it, and that'll be podcast on Apple and Spotify. Definitely worth a listen. We're going to check in with her later in the week to see what happens. They're saying that the protests could get even more wild tonight and tomorrow night, that they're ramping up. And we're gonna see what happens tonight as Tim Walz takes the stage to officially accept the VP nomination. Do you think he's going to have a good speech? I don't think so. I think he's going to really heavily rely on that teleprompter. I'm looking forward to seeing how he does, or I guess how he doesn't. You know, is he going to be introduced as Command Sergeant Major? Maybe, maybe. I mean, it wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me at all. That's just their style. That's their style. It's been wild. Bomb threats to just about every hotel in Chicago near the DNC. It's the most unified ever. And the delegates on the ground, there's an article going around which is quite funny. Breitbart spoke to a bunch of delegates on the ground of the DNC and asked them about Kamala Harris's accomplishments. None of the DNC delegates could even name her accomplishments. One woman, Bonnie Daniels from El Paso, said that Joe Biden, who essentially gave his exit speech, had fabulous economic policies. They have fabulous economic policies. He goes, they said, well, you know, she's not president. It's Joe Biden who's had some awesome achievements. That's their answer when asked about Kamala Harris's accomplishments. This delegate from El Paso said his economic policy is fabulous, and you know, waiting for her to step it up, and let's see if she continues his policies. We'll take it from there. We'll take it from there. She is actually going to continue some of his policies, and she backs President Biden's 44% capital gains tax proposal, which is going to be the highest in history. And that proposal includes a 25% tax on unrealized gains for high net worth individuals. 25% on unrealized gains for high net worth individuals. Now, of course, it'll start with high net worth individuals and then it'll spread to everybody else. Has anyone told you how taxing unrealized gains worked out in Norway? Norway started taxing unrealized gains and they expected an additional $150 million in tax revenue. But what they caused was $54 billion in wealth to flee the country. Yeah. Oh, you mean rich people have the ability to relocate to areas with better tax policies? Shocking, right? It cost Norway $600 million in tax revenue. These are the fabulous economic policies that they are looking forward to Kamala Harris stepping up. And then, yeah, they'll start with high net worth individuals, but then they'll come for you and they'll come for me. So Middle Tennessee is perfect for this, right? You think about our real estate prices, okay? Think about how they've inflated over the past 2-3 years. So you bought a house for $250K. Well, now Zillow tells you it's worth $500K. Okay? That's $250,000 in an unrealized capital gain. 25% of that is $62,500 that you now owe to the IRS. You'll own nothing and be happy. This is the Democrats' plan. That's insane. It's absolutely insane. And rich people, high net worth individuals are smart enough to get around it. And they will. And they will. But these are the policies that they want Harris to continue. And this is exactly why Harris aides want her to stop talking policy. By any means necessary, please, we've heard enough. No more policy. Anything but policy. Let's just stick to hope and joy. We're going to get a heavy dose of hope and joy tonight. DNC Night 3 continues. Matt Murphy's going to join us next. He's going to give us his instant reaction from the Obamas and their speech at the DNC. And tomorrow on the show, we'll bring you all the lowlights, highlights, clips, whatever you want to call it, from Slick Willie, Pete Buttigieg, and Governor Walz as they coronate Walz tonight as the VP at the DNC Night 3. Whew. I don't really want to watch, but I'll do it for you. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 11:54 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Matt Murphy, I didn't know we had a full kitchen in here. Matt Murphy walks in with a plate of scrambled eggs.
Plate full of eggs. Plate full of eggs.
Where did you get
this is somebody brought food. Like a lot of food.
Like I've heard about people like bringing like cupcakes or cookies for the office. Somebody brought in
I think it was an
tray
actual
of eggs.
I don't know that I'm allowed to say the business.
Oh.
You know how that goes? Like,
you know what Tim Walz says? Mind your damn business.
That's what he tells us.
That's what he says. What's up, dude? What do you think of night 2 of the DNC? Did you love it?
The beatings will continue until morale improves.
Honestly.
That was the theme of night 2.
That's actually
exactly the theme of night 2.
That's the umbrella campaign. The Obamas do their thing, right? They give a good speech. They whisper sweet nothings. And they do it
None
in
of it
a way.
means anything, but yeah.
They do it in a way that, but people can listen to it, the vote blue no matter who, and be like, wow, I felt something. But I didn't believe that they believed what they were selling the American people.
No, they were running. It's fascinating. If you took somebody from, I don't know, Zimbabwe or an alien from another planet, and you described to them our system of government, where we have 2 political parties, I mean, you kind of give them the basics. And then you let them listen to Michelle Obama's speech and Barack Obama's speech and say, who's in power? They would say the Republicans. They would say Donald Trump.
Yep.
They're running a campaign as if Donald Trump is currently the president of the United States, which indicates to me, and is kind of a theme of the show today, that their campaign is predicated on the idea that there are more stupid people in America than informed people in America.
Yeah.
And if they are right, Kamala Harris is going to win. If they are wrong, Donald Trump is going to win. I mean, I truly believe that. If you buy what Obama is selling, that America is still a racist place, that the winners aren't going to let the losers succeed, and so the losers will always be the losers because the winners are always bad people. If you believe that racial strife is still the number one problem in America today, then, I mean, and if you choose to ignore the realities of our economy, the realities of our border, or if you have to deal with those realities and blame the wrong people, that you're just an uninformed voter. And if those people, more of those people go to the polls than our people go to the polls, then they win. I mean, I think it's a pretty simple dynamic, because what they were selling was just a package of falsehoods and half-truths.
Do you think that's the last we see of the Obamas on this campaign trail?
No, I think they stabbed Joe in the back. I think they've decided that Kamala is the heir apparent. I mean, Joe was kind of toting the water for 4 years. So maybe they're back on the track. I don't know. I think the Obamas are not very motivated people in terms of advancing agendas. I think they're so ego-driven. I mean, they've gotten theirs. I mean, you had this woman. I mean, I know you played the clips. You have an uber-rich human being wagging her finger at people because they have more than they deserve or have more than they need.
Yeah.
I mean, is that not a different, when I listen, I didn't hear it in real time, but when I listened to it later on, I was like, that is, from each according to their ability, to each according to their need, right? That is Marxism at its essence.
And the lack of awareness, you had back-to-back speakers where Bernie Sanders goes out there and says, it's all the billionaires' faults. And then J.B. Pritzker afterwards saying, trust me, I'm a billionaire.
We need an economy that works for all of us, not just the billionaire class.
God, I love Bernie Sanders.
A few moments later.
Thinks that we should trust him on the economy because he claims to be very rich. But take it from an actual billionaire.
That's back to back.
Didn't Pritzker get all of his money from inheritance?
Yeah.
And he's bragging?
Yeah.
What are you bragging about, buddy?
His cousin's all in the Epstein documents, Thomas Pritzker. And so it seems to be a recurring theme. We're going to have another guy in the Epstein documents speaking tonight.
Well, you will feel, I mean, my takeaway was that you will feel, I mean, the beatings will continue unless morale improves. You will experience joy. And if you do not experience joy for whatever reason, you're a racist.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically it, right?
That's what we were told last night.
That's what we were told last night, is that if you don't get what's going on here tonight, you're obviously racist and you need to reset yourself. I mean, it's insane. But I mean, I have faith. You know, I've boiled it down to 5 states and 125,000 people, and I have faith that none of this is going to resonate with those people. It will work well with the base. They'll be all excited. Look, we were all excited after the Republican National Convention, and we should be. They're going to be all excited, but what we're selling is the truth and the reality of the situation that we face right now in the United States of America. They're selling a pack of lies, and I think truth wins.
Murphy's going to explain the truth for you after 12 o'clock. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.